Hi, it's Jo from Minerva. Today we're going to do a fabric focus looking at some sweatshirt fabrics and some patterns that we can match with them. Today I'm wearing the Billy sweatshirt, so it's got a ribbed cuff, not in matching fabric. It's got a pocket. The pockets are curved out. And this fabric's got an element of tencel in it, and it's a super stretch, making it a really comfy dress. I wear it with leggings, and you can have a look at the Billy sweatshirt a little bit later on. Obviously, when we're looking at sweatshirt fabric, we're very obviously going to be looking at a lot of sweatshirt patterns, but I'm hoping to show you a full range for people who are beginner sewers all the way through to people who want a little bit more challenge. I'm going to try and show you some men's, women's and children's patterns so that you can sew for your whole family and all your friends. A few notes on working with sweatshirt fabric. You're going to need to be thinking how you're going to be washing the final garment in and out regularly, or if it's going to be something you wear less often or a frequent garment that you wear, because you'll be needing to think about what the fabric content is. If you're choosing something that's got 100% cotton, then you're going to need to pre-wash it so that when you make your garment it doesn't shrink afterwards. If you're choosing something with a polyester content, it'll be slightly more hard wearing. It's quite good for children's clothes. So you need to think about what you're going to do with your garment when you finished it to ensure that what you choose in the first place will make a good match for your pattern. When sewing with stretch fabrics, you can probably get away with using a universal needle, a normal needle. You have to do a little test patch first. If not, move on to a stretch needle. If you've got something with more than 20% stretch, it will have a higher elastane content, so you might need a stretch needle. And also, just because of the style of some of the patterns I'm showing you, you might need a twin needle to sew around a neckline. A lot of the fabrics that I show you today have a huge colour range, and you need to be careful that you're not just choosing the best colour without checking the fabric content. So make sure that when you're choosing your favourite colour, it's also the right type of fabric for the pattern that you've got. Let's crack on with the fabrics. So my first choice is just a fleece back fabric. So when you're looking on our website for a fleece back fabric, you'll be maybe choosing a solid colour, maybe matching it with a pattern fabric for cuffs or for a front and back. And the back of this is a fleece back. This has got quite a fine fuzzy fleece on the back. It's got good stretch, this one. It's got 20% stretch in the width and 30% stretch in the length. So you'll be wanting to make sure that when you cut your pattern pieces, the greatest direction of stretch goes across your body, so that round the back here, where you're stretching the fabric, you get the most stretch. And then it won't stretch downhill and make a long sweatshirt or make your sleeves stretch down. So it's more tricky with a solid sweatshirt fabric to find the grain, but you just need to do that little stretch test before you lay your fabric out on the table. This fabric is marvellous. It comes in 27 different colours. This one is called Bordeaux. As you can see, it's that sort of deep red wine colour. And you get those sort of darker shadows if you're pleating it, or if you've got a cuff gather, you'll get a little darker shades. This one's a sort of mid-range fabric in a price range, and I've paired this quite a lightweight sweatshirt fabric. This would be a sort of summer sweatshirt. I've paired it with the Dean men's sweatshirt pattern. Kicking off with a men's pattern, I know. Look. There we are. It's from Bobbins and Buttons, and it comes in extra small to extra large. That's a 36 chest to a 44. And you're going to be getting this sort of shape, a raglan sleeve and cuffs and a cuffed ribbed neckband. You can see there it's been paired with different pattern fabric, or it will work just as well with a solid fabric. And as I said, it's quite lightweight, so This isn't going to be a really chunky jumper. This is going to be a summer, spring, throw on if it's a little bit chilly in the morning sweatshirt fabric. So if you're looking for just the basic sweatshirt fabric, then this one is a really great one to choose. Bobbins and buttons patterns are beautifully presented in terms of instructions. So you get an instruction booklet, and I'll just show you the instructions if you're new to sewing and you want to know if this is for you. Really beautifully illustrated, colour pictures, simple instructions, not over explained but not under explained. And there's just those 4 sides, and that makes you a sweatshirt straight away. Look, there we go. So nice and simple. If you're a beginner, that's the way to get started with sweatshirt fabric. If you're loving the look of that simple instruction booklet, then there is also the Lynn by Bobbins and Buttons, and that's for a women's sweatshirt. So you've got slightly different shoulder shaping on that one, and that one goes from extra small size 6 up to XXL size 24. Same sort of concept. You've got the booklet and the pattern pieces, and the fabric I've chosen for this one is a little bit more girly. This is a glitter lurex content, so I'm just trying to show you the glitter in it. There we go. There's 5 pastel colours in this one. So if you look at the colour range on this one, there's 5 different colours, but they're all quite pale colours. And the fleece back is quite fuzzy, look, more than the last one. Really soft, really cosy. Same mid-range price. It's 100% cotton. This one's 57 inches wide, so you've got plenty to go at there to get your front and back pieces. That's the width there, so you could fold it into the centre to get 2 folds, a fold on that side and a fold on that side, but follow the cutting instructions. It's beautiful, isn't it? You could turn a very basic pattern into something quite special with a little bit of sparkle. If you're looking for that simple sweatshirt but for a child, there is the Theodore, which is a children's sweatshirt. That's also by Bobbins and Buttons. So I've put the simple sweatshirts first. So if you're a beginner, we can start with the simple patterns and then we'll work up. This is another sweatshirt fabric, just the basic one. A good amount of stretch, that fuzzy fleece on the back. It is a slightly different product run to the wine coloured one I showed you before, but it's very, very similar. It feels a little more fluid actually. And this one's called Petrol. This one comes in 28 different colours. So if you're choosing for a child, you can definitely choose a colour you know that they'll wear, or a colour that goes with something they've already got. And boys and girls, of course. The more colour range you've got, the more choice you've got to choose for boys and girls. This is 92% cotton and 8% elastane, which is what gives it that extra bit of stretch. It's got a stretch in this direction and a greater stretch in this direction. So you want to be making sure the direction of grain stretch goes across. On the website, it says it's classed as heavy, but I wouldn't say it was heavy. I would say it's a nice child's weight sweatshirt fabric that will fit under a coat. Won't get too bulky under here. Very, very nice, very smooth. It's the elastane that just gives it that different hand. So this one I would match with the Theodore because it's in a massive colour range. Now, if you are looking for something thicker, this one is much thicker, a lot thicker. You can see when I put it together, I'm getting quite a chunk here. Very spongy, look, much thicker fabric. It's fleece back, so it's got that sort of fuzzy felt finish on the back. This one is 70% cotton and 30% polyester. So to get the thickness, there's a mix of polyester in it to keep it lightweight. Otherwise, if it was 100% cotton and thick, it would be very, very heavy. It comes in about 20 colours. This one's called ochre. It's that sort of mustard colour. Yellow without being frightened of yellow. That's how I think of ochre. And it's 55 inches wide. It's got that selvage edge. It's got stretch in one direction, but not in the other, or very little in the other. So you've got, this one's much more stable. And when you've got, not in that direction, look, but only 10% in that direction. And that type of fabric is good if you want to make a sweatshirt with a pocket on the front, because it stops the pocket bagging out. So if you've got a really stretchy, if I made a pocket in this modal stretch, my pocket would be really saggy. So this fabric, because it's only got 10% stretch in one direction, is really good for making the pocket on the Minerva sweatshirt. You could make either sweatshirts in this, but it's particularly good for this one because you've got that cross front as well. So the fabric is very stable for having a front that doesn't gape or stretch out. Maybe some of the other fabrics that I've shown previously, the lighter weight ones, would be better for this view. So this is the Minerva sweatshirt by Closet Core Patterns. Just a little bit different. Got a drop shoulder look instead of a raglan. And the fabric I've chosen is a thick sweatshirt fabric with stretch in one direction, but not in the other, to help with the pocket. My next fabric is pretty luxurious. This is a fleece backed fabric, so you can see that it's so lovely. This has got 93% cotton and 7% cashmere, which is what gives it the beautiful soft hand. It's slightly more drapey than the ones that contain polyester, can feel a little bit stiff. This one has a different sort of texture as well. I'm hoping to be able to show you that there. A little sort of, looks like a knit texture. Looks like it's been knitted. It is 55 inches wide, so although it's quite expensive, you do get a good amount of fabric for your money. And the fleece on the back, I mean, it's almost furry. Can you see? It's only very, very subtle, but it's got that beautiful back and that front. And I think when you're using a complex fabric, you need a simple pattern. So my all-time favourite sweatshirt pattern is the Grainline Studio Linden sweatshirt. I've lost count how many of these I've made because my daughter's a teenager, so I make them for her. I make them for me. The short sleeve one's quite good for spring. It's really simple to make, difficulty for beginners. And this one goes from size 0, that's a 32-inch bust, up to a size 16, which is a size 18, which is a 44-inch bust. So if you're looking for an absolute basic sweatshirt that will take you through years and years and years, the Grainline Studio one is good. Now, if you chose to make it in this beautiful fabric, I think you'd have something a little bit more special than just a lounging around sweatshirt. You'd have a going out sweatshirt, a work sweatshirt, something to keep you warm in a drafty office. The other thing to say about this fabric is it's got very little stretch. So a little bit in that direction and not very any at all in that direction. So it's not great for a neckband. So if you're making something with this and you're adding a neckband, you need to use a specific rib fabric like I have here, because this will make a terrible neckband. It'll either not stretch enough and pull all your neckband in, or if you cut it a bit longer to compensate for that, then you'll get a sort of frilly neckband, a neckband that doesn't pinch back in. So it's not got a very good stretch recovery, and it's also not very good if you're making something with for negative ease, because it won't stretch around your arms or anything. So if you're making the Linden sweatshirt, I suggest you size up if you're going to use this luxurious cashmere fabric. Let's have a look at some pattern sweatshirt fabrics. My first one is a fleece by Rico, and this one has printed flowers on it, and the flower in the center is metallic. The little this bit here is silver. It's got quite a large print. You wouldn't know that maybe from looking at the swatch on the website. It's quite lightweight, this one. There's no stretch in this direction and not much in this direction, but it's still a fleecy fabric. It's got that fleece back on it and the sweatshirt knit look front, but this one's not stretchy very much at all. But you can still use it to make a sweatshirt. I've chosen the Poppy and Jazz strawberry sweatshirt. So you might want to size up and make sure you get the stretch, but you will need to use a rib for the neckband because this material isn't stretchy or hasn't got any stretch, what's called stretch recovery. So this is the Poppy and Jazz sweatshirt. They have a range of children's clothes which are all very timeless design lines. And the fabric I've chosen to go with that pattern is the Rico sweatshirt fabric. And you'll need to combine that with a rib. Now I've just folded this fabric back up, I feel it could make a good dressing gown because it's fleecy, it's got that really nice girly pattern, and it wouldn't matter if it didn't stretch or not because you'd be tying it around the middle. I like that. I think that would make a nice dressing gown. My next choice is a sweatshirt fabric from Atelier Brunette, which is a slightly higher price range, but you can feel it. It's a fleece-backed sweatshirt fabric. It only comes in two colours. This one's called Night, and it's got that dark background and sort of abstract splodges, but they do sort of look like apples and pears. And this is perfect for the Billy sweatshirt, and it wouldn't have that heavy feel that this one with the viscose modal in is giving. So this would have a sweatshirt feel but not be really heavy because you're using a larger quantity of it to make the top. So you can make a sweatshirt dress. There's quite a few views on the Billy. It's one of the things I always think is a bit of a nuisance on Tilly patterns is there's the one image on the front, so you don't see the full range of what you could get if you purchase the pattern. There's a balloon sleeve, there's a sweatshirt, satin sleeve sweatshirt, and a long sweatshirt dress with pockets. You could make this without pockets. There's quite a lot of versatility in that pattern. The fabric is 95% cotton and 5% elastane, so it gives it enough stretch to go around your bottom and your shoulders for a sweatshirt dress. There you go, look. But it's not see-through, so it's definitely good for the dress. And it's 59 inches wide, so you're getting, even though it's in the slightly higher price bracket, you're getting a good width, so you're getting good value for money. I really like that one. That is the Atelier Brunette Night sweatshirt fabric with the Billy sweatshirt dress. With lots of sweatshirt fabrics, you'll get some curling at the edge, and it's not a sign of poor quality. It's just how it's cut on the grain. If you're sewing with it, let me just quickly show you. If you're sewing with it, if you can get your edges together and put your pins in diagonally, it will just hold them down for you while you're sewing. Obviously, if you're going under an overlocker, you're going to have to be careful you don't catch your blade on the pin. So this is best for a sewing machine, this technique. But if you can put your pins in diagonally like that, they kind of hold, let me just relax it so you can tell I'm not. So they sort of hold the edge out because it's holding the whole of that grain line out flat. So diagonal pilling on a curly edge is a nice little tip. If you're more familiar with using a big 4 pattern, then I have chosen this tunic, which is suitable for sweatshirt knits. It's got a hoodie, a pocket, it's a couple of different styles. Great for wearing with leggings. It's got that sort of longer liner, low tail back hem. And the fabric that I've chosen is this. It's so cozy. It's a fur-backed sweatshirt fabric, so it's really fuzzy on the back. And it's got a funky print on the front. It comes in 2 colours. This one is a sort of 50-50 polyester cotton, 50% cotton, 46% polyester, and then there's the elastane that makes up the stretch that you get in the width. There's no stretch here, which is good if you're making something long line or with this dropped hem, because you don't want that to be stretching out. So you're keeping the length of the garment stable, and then your stretch is in the width that's going around your body. It's really nice. This would be great for quite a few of the patterns I've shown so far. The children's Theodore would look cozy in this. The Poppy and Jazz top would look lovely in this. A Linden would look good in this. Any sweatshirt would look good in this. It comes in 2 colours, a dark and a pale. And it's just got that abstract print on. It looks a bit like Dash clothing used to look like in the kind of 80s. And it's so cozy. It's got that fur-backed fabric on the back. The pattern I've chosen is New Look 6529. If the fur-backed material looked appealing to you, take a look at this one. This one is so furry on the back. It's like a teddy bear. Really plush. And it's got the plain sweatshirt front. Loads of good stretch. It's 61 inches wide, this fabric, so this is super good value, and it's not even very high in the price range in the first place, and you're getting 61 inches wide. So this is really good value, and it's so beautiful. It comes in 18 different colours, so you're sure to get something either children like the look of, or that you would like to wear with some of your other clothes. And the pattern I've chosen is the Hosta Tee by Fancy Tiger Crafts, and the reason I've chosen it is because it's got this polo neckline on it. I don't know if you can see it because it's got black on, but here, and I thought this fabric would be great if you had the fur back here and the plain sweatshirt fabric on the front. So to try and play with the textures of the fabric a little bit, have your polo neck with the fur showing on the outside and the main sweatshirt as your front. It's also got quite a deep cuff, so you could play around with the fur here, or you could have the fur on the waistband. But I really love this one. I think of all of them, this is my favourite. It's got really nice stretch in the width that way. It's nice and stable in the length for a sweatshirt, so it's not going to be sort of dragging down or hanging down off your shoulders. And it's got that beautiful option of 2 textures in one fabric. Love this. And the pattern I've chosen is the Hosta top by Fancy Tiger Crafts. My next choice of pattern is Burda 6315. And this is for a sweatshirt pattern for someone who wants to take their sewing skills to another level. It's got a hood version, a sort of cowl neck version with a tie in it, a trimmed pocket, so that's just a little bit more skill there. And there's also the option to do a 2-tone, or to use up 2 different bits of sweatshirt fabric. Now for this one, I would choose one of the fabric ranges that's got 28 different colours or 22 different colours, so that you know that you're sewing the 2 same types of sweatshirt fabric next to each other. But if you want to make one of these other versions, then I'm going to show you this denim look sweatshirt fabric. So this has got the texture of sweatshirt fabric, but it looks like denim. It's got that sort of cross weave pattern in it. And this fabric, if you're looking for such a thing, has got 40% stretch. So this one is very, very stretchy, even more so in the width. So that would actually make quite good leggings as well. So this fabric is a denim look fabric with a lot of stretch. It's got a little bit more polyester in it. It's 50% cotton, and the rest is polyester and the elastane that makes it so stretchy. And it's also quite wide. It's good value, this one, and it's comes in a couple of different denim colours. A second fabric for Burda 6315 is a plain colour. So I just showed you the denim. If you're finding the denim would be too stretchy, then you can go for a cotton with less stretch. This is 100% organic cotton. And so if you want to check the credentials of your fabric, you can do that. This one's fleece backed, and it comes in a lovely red colour. Again, this one comes in 22 different colours. So this might be the one for having a go at the two-tone, because you know from 22 colours you can get two contrasting or complementing colours. It is the higher price range, but it feels it. It just feels like cotton without the polyester in it and without the sort of stretch mix. It's just a really, really stable fabric. A little bit of stretch in one direction, 10% in one, but that makes it quite stable. But if it's so stable, then you'll need ribbing to go with it, because this fabric won't make your neckline and your cuffs, they'll be too tight to get over the width of your hand and then spring back here. So it's very little stretch recovery, but a lovely organic cotton. And I'm pairing that with Burda 6315 for the two-tone hoodie. Next fabric is a very grown-up fabric, I think. It's got slightly different texture look. It's called a Jacquard fleece. It's got that sort of two-tone texture and colour variation. It's fleece backed, very soft on the back, but it's that front texture that would make a very nice men's sweatshirt or a very adult sweatshirt. I think it's more than a children's, but I guess you could use it for children's. It's just got that sort of sophisticated look about it. And it's 92% cotton and 8% lycra. So I've chosen a unisex pattern, which is McCall's 7986. It's got a pocket on the front and a hood as well, but it's got a zip. So if you are a little bit more experienced and you think you can put a zip in some stretch fabric, that's a really good pattern there to try. The top can look quite utility look with elasticated bands, or you can have it loose at the bottom as shown by the two models. And that pattern comes in two size ranges, so you can you pick from one size range or another. It's got a lot of stretch in this, so this one's like that denim one that I just showed you. It's got 40% stretch on the width, but only 15 on there, which is why I've chosen it for this, because you need it to be slightly stable in the down grain so that you can put a zip in, and for the pocket on the front, this pocket here. This also comes in more than one colour, so you could, if you really like that texture, you could have this fabric as the main, then you could have a different colourway for the hood or for the front pocket. I really like that one. I think that's got a lot of potential for a sweatshirt that doesn't look handmade, that looks a little bit different, a little bit expensive. It's not too expensive, it's in the higher price range, but I think that's just something a little bit different. And the pattern I've chosen is McCall's 7986. My next sweatshirt fabric is another all-round absolute no-brainer. If you want some sweatshirt fabric, this is the one to get. It's a good weight, it's fleece backed, it's a nice price range. It comes in 68 different colours, and we also have ribbing to match this, so you can look for the right sweatshirt and ribbing combination. And even when you look on the screen, you might think, oh well, it's not quite a good match on the ribbing, but actually when you get them, they've been chosen to go together, and the ribbing that goes with these fabrics is a really, really good match. I've made quite a few sweatshirts for my girls in this fabric. It's 80% cotton, 20% polyester, so it washes week in, week out, doesn't pill, don't get little bobbles on it, and it's 59 inches wide, so I get good value out of that one. I can fold the two selvages into the centre and get plenty of fold lines for cutting. And this one is called Cornflower Melange. And melange is a description for when a colourway is sort of mixed, light blues, dark blues, and you get a sort of tonal range of blues, so it doesn't look so matte, it looks a little more textured. But this sweatshirt fabric does come in a lot of different colours, solid and melange colours. I like this cornflower blue, it's very, very nice. It's not got a huge amount of stretch, so it's easy to sew with if you're new to sewing. This one is 10% one way and 15% the other. That's the 10, I can feel it. That's the 10, that's the 15. So you're getting a little bit of stretch, but it's not, when you make something it won't stretch out and you won't be disappointed after it's been washed. So the pattern that I've chosen is the Hudson pants, because we've been looking at all the sweatshirts and all the tops. This was an absolute winner when people were all at home, because people were wearing a lot of loungewear. But you could use it for casual wear, yoga, doing sporting. It's got a very deep cuff, and the cuff is made out of the sweatshirt fabric, but you could use a rib if you wanted to. It's got the adjustable waist, so there's some easy fitting options. It's got quite a close ankle, so it looks quite neat when it's finished. And that's the Hudson pants, and it's an easy pattern to follow, and it's easy to do in a stable sweatshirt fabric. My final selection today is a super light fleece, which you don't often see, but you might be looking for. So this one is very light, very fine, but not opaque. It's still fleece backed. It's got all the features of many of the other ones that I've shown you, but it's super light. It's nice and thin. Really nice for like a children's romper or a baby grow, because it's not too thick. Or for any of the Poppy and Jazz sweatshirt patterns that I showed you, or the Theodore. It's much, much lighter. It would also make the Billy sweatshirt with the balloon sleeves, because you don't want a huge amount of sweatshirt fabric coming from that gather that makes it the sleeve look ridiculous, not sublime. So this fabric would be great for the Billy, if you want to make a warm Billy sweatshirt with the balloon sleeves. It's called Super Light. It's 59 inches wide, which means it's really good value for money. It's got a very nice, soft, close textured finish, and it comes in 12 colours. It's got 10% stretch in one direction. Let me feel it and I'll find out that way. That's 10%, and 20 in the other way. So it's quite a stable fabric, quite balanced in that how it's in the way it's going to behave or cut on different pattern pieces. The pattern that I've chosen is a style arc pattern, and I wanted to show these for a couple of reasons. So this is a bit like the Hudson's. This is the Joni track pant. It's got pockets on the back and cuffs. And if you choose a style arc pattern, any style arc pattern, they are for experienced sewers, and I'll show you why, because that is the instructions. So that's the cutting out diagram, and these are the instructions, 1, 2, 3, 4. And even though this is quite a simple construction, like a pyjama style or you know, a elasticated trouser style, even the patterns that are a little bit more difficult are very simply written down. Now actually you might find as a beginner you quite like it simply written down, or you might find that you prefer the pictures and the tutorials of a bobbins, buttons and bobbins pattern, or of Atelier and the buttons pattern, where you're taken through a pictorial stage. So just to show you that a style art pattern assumes that you've sewn before, it assumes that you know some sewing knowledge. That's not to say they're not good patterns, they are superb patterns. The lines on them are very good, the design lines are fabulous, but you need to make sure that you're confident enough to choose that pattern and go with those instructions. So this one is the Joni track pants and this super light fleece backed fabric. The other thing you might need to shop for or look for if you're using sweatshirt fabrics is some ribbing, and you can use ribbing, cuffing. They'll both get a search on Minerva, or I'm going to put a few links to some cuff products below. Years ago you just used to get a prim cuff in navy or beige, but now there's such a huge range of cuffing that can really take an item to the next level. Cuffing can come on a band like this. So this is a ready-made one. The edge is all overlocked, so you can use that on a sweatshirt. There's a couple of patterned ones of those. Or you can buy ribbing and cuffing in a big piece and cut your own from it, which is useful because if you're making something like the Juno pyjamas or the Hudson pants and you want a very deep ankle cuff, then you can get the cuff shape that you want. This is the rib fabric that I was talking about, which matches the cuffing. So I had a plain aqua sweatshirt fabric, and then I had exactly the matching rib cuffing, and I've got quite a bit of it left over, so I keep using it on contrast things, and I use it on hemband on billy sometimes. If I'm cutting my fabric really close to the mark and I haven't quite got enough to cut the hemband out, then you can use ribbing cuffing around the bottom. That's what this is here. This is just navy ribbing that's cut from a big piece rather than either the actual fabric or small amounts of cuffing. You can also get ready-made cuffs, the prim ones. They come in a more limited range of colours, but that might work for the colour that you're choosing. If you are a little bit stuck picking ribbing or cuffing, have a look at the products below and see how people have used them. You can also ask questions about any fabrics and we will try and answer those for you too. All the patterns and the fabrics that I've shown today are listed below. Do go and look at the fabrics. Even if you're not going to match it with the pattern, go and have a look at the fabric and see what other people have made with it. People give quite a lot of information. They might tell you about the stretch recovery, they might tell you about how it's washed over time. So you get a lot of information by getting help from other Minerva makers. So if you click on the fabrics below, you'll see the thread underneath of people who've made items with that fabric. Maybe you have one of these patterns and you've been waiting for the right fabric to come along, and I hope today's tips of the stretch in the different directions and how the fabric handles will help you to choose your fabric for your pattern. If you've seen a fabric or a pattern that you like today, you can click on it in the product list below and put it into your saves if you've not used that feature before, and you can then easily find that fabric in the future. I will certainly be putting the very, very furry pink one on my saves and the super light one because sometimes I might need a lighter fabric. I'm going to start making a collection of my favourite sweatshirt fabrics for future projects. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed seeing the different weights of sweatshirt fabric. I know that online shopping means that you don't have the hand to touch and feel it, but I'm hoping that you've got a feel for what sort of things that you're looking for in the product description.